This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. He was arrested for a string of arson attacks. Now we're learning a little bit more about the 35-year-old police say is behind them. He's charged with targeting a number of businesses, including 2 MLA's offices and multiple restaurants. CBC's Mike Arson has been digging into the suspect more. And Mike, what do we know about Jesse Wheatland?
Well, Brittany, we learned that Wheatland worked at least 2 of the places he's accused of targeting, Commonwealth Kitchen and Bar and the Exchange Event Centre. The owner of Commonwealth tells CBC Wheatland worked security at the bar a few times in early 2025. He says Wheatland had a good relationship with management. He would text them to pick up security shifts, but wasn't a permanent employee. Management at Exchange Event Centre says Wheatland was hired as a barback for the club in 2022. They say he was a referral from an employee, but he was let go because he didn't meet expectations. Both places say they were on good terms with Wheatland and were surprised to learn he's accused of setting the fires.
And Mike, what about Ministers Nahanni Fontaine and Bernadette Smith? Their constituency offices were targeted. So did Wheatland have any connection to either of them?
Well, Minister Smith and Minister Fontaine declined to comment on whether or not they had any prior interactions with Wheatland. Both ministers have been vocal supporters of opening a supervised consumption site for drug users. In January of this year, Wheatland posted in a Point Douglas Facebook group voicing his concerns about the site, which was proposed for the area. He claims these kinds of sites don't offer long-term solutions and says he felt them being near a school was also a risk. Today, I spoke to a family member who only learned about Wheatland's charges when police made them public. They say they're in shock and weren't ready to comment any further. Brittany?
All right, thank you. That's CBC's Mike Arson. A new exhibit marking the mass displacement of Palestinians in 1948 is coming to the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. It will feature the personal experiences of Palestinian Canadians from the Nakba. But it has at least one Jewish organization pulling out of a partnership with the museum. CBC's Josh Crabb reports.
It is a day that is now commemorated annually. The Arabic term Nakba, or catastrophe, is what's used by Palestinians to describe a defining moment of their history when hundreds of thousands were forced out or left their homes during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Israel disputes this. Ramzi Zeid is the president of the Canadian Palestinian Association of Manitoba.
The Palestinian Nakba is a story of mass displacement.
The Canadian Museum for Human Rights in Winnipeg announced Wednesday it's opening a new exhibit in 2026. It's called Palestine Uprooted, Nakba Past and Present.
Kudos to the museum for having the courage to tell the story, and not because they're favoring the Palestinians or the Israelis, but because this is a human rights story that really needs to be shared.
Not everyone is celebrating the exhibit. The Jewish Heritage Centre of Western Canada here in Winnipeg says there was no consultation with the Jewish community. The centre declined an on-camera interview, but in a statement, it says it's concerned the exhibit will lack balanced scholarly research and key historical and current geopolitical context. The centre says it's withdrawing its partnership with the Museum for Holocaust Remembrance Day on January 27th. The head of the Human Rights Museum, Aisha Khan, says the Nakba exhibit will get the same academic and curatorial rigor as all its exhibits.
This exhibit isn't a historical retrospective. This exhibit is about the experiences of Palestinian Canadians who have lived through forced displacement.
Khan says the CMHR is sorry to learn the Jewish Heritage Centre is withdrawing from International Holocaust Remembrance Day programming. Khan says, as a museum for human rights, they share the community's concerns about rising anti-Semitism and remain committed to programming to combat it, as well as providing Holocaust education. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A man with a rare disease says the treatment he relies on to help slow it is being revoked. This is Jeremy Bray. His neurological disease is slowly taking away his ability to move his muscles. He fought for the Manitoba government to pay for a hugely expensive drug which reverses some of the disease's effects. The company that made the drug agreed to give it to Bray for free on compassionate grounds. But now the company says it's ending coverage. He says the drug was helping him regain his energy and has allowed him to move more of his face. Now he's devastated.
When I found out all of the stability and even improvement might be snatched away, I was devastated, afraid, not sure what to do.
Bray says the drug is working and wants the province to cover its costs. But the health minister says Manitoba won't overrule Canada's drug agency, which doesn't recommend the treatment for older adults. A new kitchen is coming to Manitoba, providing employment with a purpose. It's giving people living with disabilities and mental illness an opportunity when they're often met with closed doors. CBC's Felicia Adam was at the grand opening of the Raw Carrot.
3, 2, 1.
With the cut of a ribbon, new opportunities come to life.
This is the hearty lentil and barley soup.
Kieran Schellenbert is one of 8 employees at the Raw Carrot, a company empowering people living with disabilities or mental illness.
It's like a workspace that is specifically designed to be accommodating to the needs of different people. So it feels like I'm able to contribute to the fullest ability that I can, and I don't feel like a drain.
Employees work part-time, preparing soups, granola, and pancake batter. The products are packaged and then sold. 100% of the sales goes towards wages.
It makes me feel happy knowing that I did something for other people and cooking for other people.
Mike Kessler lives with a learning disability. At his new job, he says he finally fits in.
You don't face barriers, you feel more comfortable and in your comfort zone.
Kara Klippenstein has been working with the group since June, preparing for Thursday's kitchen grand opening.
This is so important because it gives them the dignity and the confidence that only work can.
Hope Centre Ministries is overseeing the introduction of Raw Carrot in Manitoba, the first kitchen outside of Ontario where it began.
I look at our current employees and I know their story, and I know some of the struggles behind their story. I know how long they have wanted to work or to contribute in a meaningful way.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Chrissy Craker-Boggs is proud to see her daughter working.
This has been a worry for 20 years. How is this going to look? What is the world going to be like for her? And this is beyond our wildest dreams and hopes.
As for the soup itself, for those who had a chance to try it Thursday,
fantastic. It's the best carrot ginger soup I've ever had. Absolutely love it. The right texture, the right consistency, the right flavor. Perfect. Love it.
Soon the products will be available at pop-up locations, including the Forks. For now, though, they're breaking down barriers one bowl at a time. Felicia Adam, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Help is on the way for Winnipeg pet owners feeling the squeeze this holiday season. The Humane Society has launched its first ever pet food holiday hamper program. They're looking to put together around 100 hampers for cats and dogs. The organization says the need for pet food has been surging for the last couple of months. It's seen a 242% increase in pet food bank appointments since April.
We were typically getting 80 clients a month, and we thought that was quite a bit. Last month we had 301 clients come through the food bank, so we realized the need is extremely there. So we figured with the holiday season coming up, we know it's hard enough for people to purchase stuff for themselves and their families, let alone their pets.
They're taking hamper donations until December 3rd. Items could range from food and toys to litter collars and even poop bags. Hampers will be distributed on December 16th at the West End Resource Centre. Well, it's a nice way to give back to the community. Riley in now, and Riley, I even saw some bare ankles around the newsroom today. People really soaking in this late November weather.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if there's some people even in sandals in some places. I know people really like to push the envelope when it comes to some of the summer clothing. I mean, yeah, slightly unusual that we haven't seen that snowfall that sticks. but we still do have some time left in the month here. So normally in Winnipeg, by the end of November, we'd see about 6 centimeters on the ground. Into Westman, that's at about 9 centimeters. I do think by the time we get to the end of the month, we will see that happen. I'm foreshadowing here a little bit of snow that we have on the way. In some cases, some accumulating snow to parts of southern Manitoba. This isn't a short-term forecast thing. This is more of a long range, so we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Today, though, at least under a mainly sunny sky, really through much of the province, a bit of cloud cover starting to roll back into southern Manitoba as we see high pressure slipping south of the border, but a bit of a cloudier one still into parts of northern Manitoba where we have seen a bit of snow today along the Hudson Bay coast. Overnight tonight, temperature around -6, a partly cloudy sky through the night tonight. Normally we should be around -12, so remaining above seasonal as we get into the day on Friday. Brittany, looking at temperature around the freezing mark, mostly sunny skies. We do keep the sunshine for the weekend, but then things change into next week, and I'll go into details a bit later on.
Oh no. Okay, thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
It was bought with money given to a First Nation because of broken treaty promises, but now this golf course is under the control of a developer. More on that next. A former golf course near Winnipeg purchased with money Peguis First Nation received as reparation for broken treaty promises is now mostly in the hands of a property developer. As CBC's Bartley Kivas reports, that developer used to advise Peguis in its real estate trust.
The former Meadows Golf Course sprawls across 181 acres of mostly empty land just north of Winnipeg. Peguis First Nation Real Estate Trust bought this land in 2021 using $10 million of money Peguis First Nation received as reparation for broken treaty promises. The Peguis Real Estate Trust bought this land and planned to develop it. But now, most of this old golf course is no longer in the First Nations Trust's hands. Winnipeg developer Andrew Marquis, who used to advise both Peguis and its real estate trust, now controls 90% of the Meadows land he plans to develop. According to a purchase and development agreement obtained by CBC News, Marquis acquired control of the Meadows in November 2024 with a promise to pay $10 million to the Peguis First Nation Real Estate Trust sometime over the next 7 years, and Marquis plans to build more than 2,100 homes and apartments on the land. The Peguis Real Estate Trust gets to keep about 10% of the old golf course, where it built a daycare. A lawyer for the First Nation says the deal does not seem fair.
I don't know the reasons why the trustees felt that they needed to do this sale, or what the motivations were behind it, but it doesn't appear to me to be a fair transaction.
Between 2021 and 2023, Marquis was paid at least $4.4 million to consult for both Peguis and its real estate trust, according to documents the band provided to CBC News and financial records obtained by CBC News. Peguis sued Marquis in September 2024 over allegations he failed to act in the best interests of the band when he worked as a consultant. The Meadows transaction took place 2 months later.
What's particularly galling about this is this transaction took place after the litigation had been filed.
Marquis advised Peguis on the purchase of the Meadows land, according to a report he wrote for the band. John Galis questioned how the band advisor ended up with the land after the band purchased it with money intended to right past wrongs.
It seems to be another example of history repeating itself.
Marquis's lawyer, Kevin Toyne, rejected the idea there's anything unusual about the Meadows sale. In a statement, Toyne said the structure of the transaction and the transaction documents are consistent with commercial real estate transactions in Manitoba. Andrew's company has assumed all debt as well as all development risk. That debt included $5.6 million the Peguis First Nation Real Estate Trust owed to a numbered company controlled by Maureen Diamond. She's Andrew Marquis's wife. According to court documents, Diamond started this company to lend money to the trust. She said she had no previous experience providing private loans. Diamond declined further comment. According to the Meadows sale agreement, the trust defaulted on its loan to Diamond's company in November 2024. Greg Stevenson, the former chair of Peguis Real Estate Trust, said he could not find any other lender to take over the loan. Stevenson said that left the trust in danger of losing the Meadows land.
If everything fell apart, everybody loses, especially Peguis, because Peguis uses their $10 million of their TLE money.
Stevenson said Peguis chief Stan Bird prevented the trust from developing the old golf course or selling it to Swan Lake First Nation. Bird, meanwhile, accused Stevenson of trying to shift the blame back onto Peguis's chief and counsel. Peguis's lawyer John Galis questioned why the trust borrowed money from the developer's wife's company in the first place.
At a property, you've got $10 million equity in it. You could go down to, the Bank of Montreal. I feel pretty confident that they would lend you. They'd be more than happy to give you a mortgage.
CBC News asked a Winnipeg lawyer with expertise in First Nations governance to review the Meadows agreement. He said it's unusual to see a band advisor so financially involved with their client. Yvonne Guy Larocque also commented on the deal itself.
These treaty land entitlement lands being essentially transferred to a non-Indigenous party defeats the purpose of the treaty land entitlement process in my mind.
Andrew Marquis can't develop on this land until the RM of East St. Paul approves a residential development here. There's a hold on further development because the RM can't handle more sewage. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, in the RM of East St. Paul.
Construction of a new overpass near Carberry will begin in 2027. The overpass project at the intersection of the Trans-Canada Highway and Highway 5 was announced in Tuesday's throne speech. It's the deadly site of a bus crash that took the lives of 17 seniors in 2023. The province previously scrapped plans for a different design after pushback from the community. While many say they're excited about the new plans, others worry it's excessive.
Somebody used the expression swatting a fly with a hammer.
I feel really good about it. I think it's a long time coming.
It's a great idea. I think it'll help keep the community safer and save lives.
The province says construction is expected to start in 2027 and take 2.5 years. Riley's back in now. And Riley, end of November, I can't say it enough. It feels lucky right now that we haven't had one of those big snowfalls. And I know you were saying you've looked back at some of that, and it's not totally unusual.
Yeah, we have had years where we haven't had snow until we get into, or the snow that sticks at least until we get into late November, early December. It has happened. Yeah, usually we see it happening earlier, but you know, if you love the outdoor warmer temperatures, take advantage of these ones. Okay, I do have a bit of a science lesson or maybe something to winterize. You probably didn't think of this in your home. I didn't. But it's that time of year if you're doing some winterizing and if you have a ceiling fan or maybe a few ceiling fans in your home, it's time to change the setting on them because typically for a summer you'd have the fan going counterclockwise, right? Because the way the blades are angled, it's pushing that air down and creating that breeze that you get from the fan. But for the winter, you want to change that around and have it more of a clockwise rotation. And that's going to pull some of that warmer air up and actually push it down the walls and actually help to heat the room a little bit more. So if you haven't done that, maybe take some time tonight and get that done before we get into some of the real cold temperatures as we get toward the winter months here. We do have some snow on the way. I'll say that right now. It doesn't happen until we get toward the middle of next week for most of us in the province. There is some snow coming to the north once again, which I'll get into. So mostly clear skies tonight. Northwesterly flow off the lakes, maybe some lake effect into eastern parts of the province as we get through the night tonight. But then we're back into a mostly sunny sky for the majority of Manitoba. So we'll call it a mix of sun and clouds as we get through the day on Friday. Then I'm watching another weak disturbance that will push across northern Manitoba. And as we get overnight Friday into Saturday, this does start to spread some snow anywhere from the Pas, Grand Rapids, Norway House, northward into the Hudson Bay coast as we get into the day on Saturday. So this is another quick mover, maybe another 2 to 5 centimeters or so as we get through Friday into Saturday. Then we're back into a mix of sun and clouds, really province-wide as we get into the weekend. Things do change, though, as we get into the weekend. So there's a couple things I want you to note. First, an area of low pressure developing back to the west. This is developing over the Rockies over the weekend, and a Colorado low that will come up northeastward as we get into early next week. And as both of these converge on the province, they're doing a little bit of a dance here, so there's not a lot of guidance on what this is yet. So far, it's looking like a general 5 to 10 centimeters across southern Manitoba, but there will be areas where we get into more of a rain event, for example, as we get Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. So something to be aware of. I'll keep you updated as this nears toward the middle of next week here, but just putting that on the radar that we could get into some winter weather here fairly soon. -5 first thing in the morning for Winnipeg, looking at -7s to -9s into the west, Brittany, and looking at temperatures staying above seasonal right through the weekend.
All right, I'll take it. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
We have much more ahead right after this. Stay with us. Prime Minister Mark Carney continued his trip in the Middle East Thursday. He's there to make deals and signal Canada is open for business. Carney met with the President of the United Arab Emirates earlier in the day as the two countries signed an investment agreement. Talks were launched towards a full trade deal. Carney also met with the Gulf nation's industry minister and toured a palatial mosque. The visit has involved limited media access as concerns grow that the country is fueling ethnic violence in Sudan. The Alberta government plans to allow doctors to work publicly and privately. It's all in an effort to reduce wait times for some surgeries. Sam Sampson shows us the Premier's message and some concerns it's raising.
This greatly benefits everyone on surgical wait lists.
In a 7-minute video, Alberta's Premier promises a solution to surgery wait times in the province.
As healthcare shouldn't be about blind and outdated ideologies or politics.
Danielle Smith says surgeons should be able to do both public and private work.
That doctor could also perform an additional 200 or 300 more surgeries for patients who can afford to pay for the cost themselves.
I think people are actually overworked right now, and burnout feels like it's at an all-time high. So I don't know how much capacity there is to add on extra work.
Their surgery day.
Paul Ryan was one of 80,000 Albertans on the list for an elective surgery. The 46-year-old waited 2.5 years for his hip replacement, and he says he would have paid to get it sooner.
It was that bad. My quality of life, I suffered every day. I was waking up angry, depressed. It was taking a real toll on my life. So I definitely would. At that point there, my wife and I both said we would have done anything. You can always make more money, but you can't get your health back, right?
Right now, Alberta contracts private surgical clinics to provide things like outpatient knee and hip replacements. The province promises no public money will fund private surgeries, but health policy experts say this could change the healthcare system dramatically.
This has never been done before.
Fouffard worries the new system would actually drain public resources since there could be more money in private surgeries. He's also concerned about a possible two-tiered system.
Are we comfortable as a country with the fact that we have two parallel streams and that some people with additional means can gain access in a way that the rest of us cannot?
Physicians say they need more details. Those will come when the bill is expected to be introduced later this month. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
A new report looking at healthcare worldwide shows a link between greater privatization and higher mortality rates. This comes as several Canadian provinces move to embrace private healthcare services. Christine Birak has more.
As governments in Alberta, Quebec, and Ontario make plans to privatize more healthcare services, a new report featuring a comparison between countries shows a lot depends on who pays for healthcare and who delivers it. Out of 25 OECD countries, the ones with greater for-profit privatization have worse outcomes, including lower life expectancy and higher avoidable deaths.
Different governments are pursuing options for privatization to help balance to the books at huge cost.
While most of this country's healthcare is still publicly delivered, it may be surprising to see Canada's already above average when it comes to private financing, with payments coming from out-of-pocket spending and private insurance. Still, some doctors say privatization can speed up access.
What's most important for the Canadian public is getting access to care. Our wait times are absolutely punishing for the patient population.
Others say private clinics simply take doctors and staff out of hospitals.
It doesn't really shorten the wait list, it just rearranges it so that those who have more money can get seen faster rather than those with the biggest medical need.
While the new report didn't look at scans and testing, Alberta's Auditor General recently found after the province moved to privatize diagnostic services, an unusually high number of errors were reported, including missed or incorrect diagnoses of serious conditions, going from 25 before privatization in a year to 145 after.
I started out not having cancer. I didn't have to go through any of this.
Lita Baublitz was told she had breast cancer. After her breast was removed, she was told it was a mistake and the government couldn't hold the company accountable.
It can't happen because that could be damaging to a private interest. The damage to me receiving a mastectomy I didn't need was listed as not that harmful.
Alberta said privatization would save millions. Instead, the cancelled contract cost taxpayers tens of millions. Bablitz worries more private care will leave others in the same boat or worse. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
American government officials are now in Ukraine to discuss efforts to end the war with Russia. There have been reports that American and Russian officials have established a framework for peace that would require major concessions from Ukraine. This comes amid continuing bloodshed. Russian attacks on 2 apartment blocks in a city in western Ukraine killed more than 24 people and wounded dozens more early Wednesday. Briar Stewart has more.
Crews still work to recover the dead after a Russian missile slammed into this apartment building in western Ukraine Wednesday. Among the growing number of victims, those born into the war. I came to pray for the children that went to sleep peacefully and didn't have a chance to wake up, said this woman. Against the backdrop of so much grief, there's frustration over reports Moscow and the U.S. drew up a 28-point peace proposal. It reportedly calls for Ukraine to give up the Donbass region in the east, where Russia continues to try and claw away more land, and for Ukraine to cut the size of its military by 40%, suggestions Kyiv has rejected many times before. In a video released by the Kremlin, President Vladimir Putin inspected Russian troops, later saying Ukrainian soldiers should be given the opportunity to surrender.
We are thankful to President Trump. Best regards to him.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky met with the U.S. Secretary of the Army and says he'll be speaking with Donald Trump soon. Washington insists Ukraine has been included all along.
They've been engaging with both sides, Russia and Ukraine, equally to understand what these countries would commit to.
Many Ukrainians say what appears to be on the table now is a non-starter.
It's like, what the hell is this?
Hannah Sheila spoke to CBC News with the help of a generator after multi-hour blackouts because of Russia's relentless attacks on the country's energy grid.
Do you fear at all that Washington is maybe moving to put more pressure on Ukraine?
Yes. I mean, the question is that it is not them to decide the future of Ukraine. It is the people of Ukraine to decide this future.
And she said the government wouldn't be able to sell a proposal that amounts to surrender, not after nearly 4 years of Russia's all-out war and so much loss. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
Thousands of bodies are being exhumed in Mexico as the search for the disappeared continues. More than 100,000 people are missing, and families have been torn apart looking for their loved ones. Many have fallen victim to organized crime. Jorge Barrera has more from Mexico City.
A group of families searching for their vanished loved ones take a shuttle through Mexico City's Panteón Civil de Dolores cemetery. This is the site of the city's largest common grave. The bodies lying here have never been claimed or identified. I have great hope that my son will be found here, says Ana Maria Maldonado. Even like this, without life, her son Carlos vanished in 2010 at age 34 after he went out to buy a car from someone he met online. But I want to know what happened to my son, she says. Families gathered here for what Mexico City officials described as the largest project of its kind in Latin America. The exhumation and identification of 6,600 bodies.
We are still crossing information from their names, their characteristics, to the names of the missing persons, and we are still doing that work to obtain the major number of identities possible in this process.
One of the lead officials on the project says a review of cemetery and missing persons records found hundreds of possible matches, triggering this project. This is going to take years, he says. This is part of Mexico City's multi-agency strategy to deal with its growing list of the disappeared, over 7,000.
Estamos conscientes de que la búsqueda de personas desaparecidas es un reto de gran magnitud.
We are conscious that the search for disappeared persons is a challenge of great magnitude, said Bertha Alcalde Lujan, the city's attorney general. Until we find them, the families chant.
Estoy aquí porque nos hicieron a mi familia y a mí la notificación.
Sofia Lara Alfonso said her family was notified that her brother was buried in this common grave. Carlos Alfonso was homeless and died in hospital in 2012.
Nunca se nos notificó pues que él estaba ahí, ¿no?
She said the family, which had filed a missing persons report in 2009, was never notified.
Para mí siempre fue mi mejor amigo de niña.
He was always my best friend since I was a girl, she says. Officials say they hope to exhume about 24 bodies in this first phase. Jorge Barrera, CBC News, Mexico City.
The future homes for 27 pieces of Hudson Bay history were decided Wednesday in a packed Toronto auction.
Even though it is focused on art, in many cases, the interest, I think, is driven as much by that history as by the artistic value of the works themselves.
Winston Churchill's Marrakesh was the star of the auction. The oil painting by the former British Prime Minister sold for $1.3 million. That's more than double the value originally estimated by the auction house. Also notable, Lights of a City Street by Frederick Marlett Bell Smith. It depicts pedestrians on a rainy evening in Toronto at the busy King and Yonge intersection. It sold for $575,000, and everything put up for auction sold, which is considered a rare feat in the auction world. Well, we have much more local news coming up after the break. Stay with us. Police have arrested a man for sexually assaulting a nurse in a hospital parkade. CBC News has learned he has a lengthy criminal history and a number of convictions, including one for sexual assault. This latest incident took place just 4 days after he pleaded guilty to a robbery. The attack happened early November outside of St. Boniface Hospital. CBC's Chloe Friesen has those details.
It was around 11 at night when a nurse was attacked in this parkade outside of St. Boniface Hospital. She was getting out of her car on November 8th when a man approached her and asked for the time. Police say this is when he trapped her between two cars and sexually assaulted her. Police say the woman screamed and the man ran away. Hospital security found him over 4 hours later. The 27-year-old man is charged with sexual assault. The head of Manitoba Nurses Union says this isn't the first time workers have been attacked outside of hospitals. In July, several staff members were randomly sexually assaulted near Health Sciences Centre. A 28-year-old man was charged in those attacks. Darlene Jackson says security should be permanently stationed in hospital parkades.
I am just fed up. I am so sick of hearing about these incidents and employers saying, well, we've been working on it and, we're going to work on it in the future. No, you need to work on it right now.
In a statement shared with CBC, St. Boniface Hospital President and CEO Nicole Amino says the hospital is reviewing its security processes and is in contact with the Winnipeg Police to discuss neighborhood safety. Chloe Friesen, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The mayor says he's open to looking at what other cities are doing when it comes to designated encampment zones. It comes days after the first 2 encampments were dismantled under Winnipeg's new bylaw, restricting where tents are allowed. Scott Gillingham spoke earlier with Marcy Marcusa.
The relationship that the outreach providers have with these individuals in encampments around the city is really important so that they can get the people where they need to be in warm places. The city of Winnipeg, we fund 24/7 safe spaces as well. We fund 4 of them that provide kind of warm weather shelter for people during the day if needed.
Obviously, what would offset that is if we did have some things that other cities are doing. I know that this is, we've already heard from some councillors and such that are saying this isn't the right direction for Winnipeg. I want to know what your thoughts are on this, and I also want to know how open you are to changing things. And I'm talking about the zones where people could go. So in St. John, New Brunswick, they have adopted colored zones as part of Housing for All. So green zones is transitional housing sites. Yellow sites are where encampments are permitted temporarily. And then encampments can't go in red zones. So the idea is, I know you say you don't want people to go tent to tent. However, there are some housing advocates that are suggesting, even here in the city of Winnipeg, that why not? Well, as you said, we don't have the spaces, the transitional spaces all up and ready to go. Why wouldn't we have an organized sort of, I guess for the sake of the other, use the language from other cities, the yellow zone, where you would have supports there. The idea would be to go into transitional housing, but right now, at least we're moving you into an area where people's needs can be managed and such. Why wouldn't we go in that direction?
Well, first and foremost, I'm always open to ideas that are working in other jurisdictions. And so we have learned a lot from other jurisdictions, even in the encampment policy we brought in and the encampment protocols that we're implementing as well. But what the key here is to make sure that we are moving people ultimately into housing. That is the goal. And so the process we have right now, it's only week 1. It's working so far. It's early days. The protocol on how we enforce this new no-go zone policy in certain areas, it'll change. It'll evolve over time, inevitably, right, as we learn and adjust. But the more people we can get into stable housing with the supports that need to be successful is really it's the goal that everybody has. I think that's the important message here.
Especially though when people right now are being told, during the day, pack up and move. If you did have that sort of the encampment that is permitted temporarily with the eye to housing, that would at least give them a place to move to with support. So is that something you can commit to support, that exploring?
Well, right now we're exploring, some councils have brought forward the concept of a managed encampment site, which I think is similar to what you're talking about. Different cities do it a little bit, be different from city to city. And we're exploring that. I'm open to that discussion. A couple of my council colleagues have been, calling for that. And like I said at the outset here, I really am. I think we all should be open to what can work for the people of this community.
Riley back in now. And Riley, I keep saying it feels lucky right now that we aren't hitting those frigid temperatures that we see as we get further and further into winter. And we've definitely seen it this time of year, but still pretty pleasant for those dog walks.
Yeah, even in the evening, like, my gosh, on my walk home from work in the evening, the number of people that are still out walking their dogs, pretty phenomenal.
Right? Keep those winter jackets away a little longer.
Yeah. Give it a week. Okay, let's do your dog walking forecast. And you know what? I do want to put a bit of a call out because I know we've done a lot of dogs and cats, but I really haven't gotten many other animals. So if you've got a rabbit, a fish, something like that, I'd love to see some of those too, to talk back at cbc.ca. And we have a birthday boy here, Crixus. Thank you, Carlo. Who wanted to make her pup famous. So thank you for sending this picture in. And I know that Crixus recently turned 7. So there you go. Looking at temperatures around the freezing mark as we get into the afternoon for Winnipeg tomorrow, and still partly cloudy sky into the evening. Once we get into the weekend, then we get back into more of a mix of sun and clouds. But for now, at least, a clear sky in Winnipeg at the moment. It's -1. Pressure is rising. That wind has been lightening up throughout the day today, back to a westerly wind at about 13 kilometers an hour. We reached 5 degrees in Winnipeg this afternoon, which, by the way, is our 10th day above seasonal for the month of November. 10th day in a row as well. You have to go back to around Remembrance Day to find some days where we have seen some cooler conditions. So temperatures right now, -2s for Brandon, Dauphin, Swan River, -6 in Thompson, to Dooley Lake at -8 at the moment. As we get through the night tonight, particularly in the west, we do start to see temperatures dropping closer to that seasonal mark overnight. So that would be around -12 or -13 through parts of western Manitoba, getting down to -8 through Dauphin and Brandon, -6 to -5 or so for the rest of us on the eastern side of the province, with partly cloudy skies through the night tonight. In northern Manitoba, temperatures do drop closer to that seasonal mark as well. -12 in Lynn Lake, -14 into Dooley Lake, Thompson at -12 overnight as well, where we are under the influence of a bit more of a Arctic flow in parts of northern Manitoba. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds, maybe a bit of extra cloud cover into the afternoon hours as we see a next push of some precipitation as we get overnight into Saturday for northern Manitoba, but still temperatures close to the freezing mark as we get through the day tomorrow. In southern Manitoba, pretty much a carbon copy of today, although not as warm. We're looking at temperatures actually closer to the freezing mark for the Red River Valley tomorrow. 0 in Gimli, -1 in Pinawa, but still 3 to 6 degrees through southwestern Manitoba. Mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, Brittany, into that part of the province and into northwestern Ontario, looking at temperatures just below the freezing mark as well. Your 7-day forecast is just ahead.
All right. Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
British lawmakers have announced a plan to ban the resale of tickets for things like music concerts, shows, and sporting events at inflated prices. The goal is to end a practice of purchasing tickets in large volumes, then selling them for much more than face value. Nisha Patel tells us why the move is getting mixed reviews.
Welcome to the Eras Tour! From blockbuster music concerts to historic sporting events, soaring ticket prices are frustrating fans.
This feels like it should be illegal because $5,000 for nosebleeds? Are you kidding me?
But in the UK, it could soon be illegal. The British government is cracking down on ticket resellers. Proposed new laws would ban the resale of a ticket for any price above its face value.
Hopefully, this will prevent those touts from being able to do that. And ensure that there's a fair playing field for fans who want tickets.
Ticket platform StubHub criticized the move, claiming it would just fuel black markets.
The reality is that laws like this have no teeth whatsoever. The government uses it for theater.
Canadian music industry expert Eric Alper agrees rules like these are tough to enforce. When demand is high and supply is low, he suggests steep prices are unavoidable.
Maybe we all have to start realizing that not everybody is going to get to see the show that they want to go see.
But musicians hope the changes will get tickets to genuine fans first. Coldplay's manager calling it a game changer. Ed Sheeran's manager saying it was long overdue. Competition experts argue regulations should go even further.
With firms like Ticketmaster, who we know is the most dominant reseller and also kind of has vertical integration in that market, it's been really hard for artists to resist their pricing strategies.
In Canada, there have been growing calls for lawmakers to take action.
The UK tends to be ballsier from a competition standpoint. In Canada, I'm not sure if it's that we're polite sometimes or just have an aversion to any kind of market intervention.
Quebec does have a rule capping the price of ticket resales, but it does have some loopholes. Ontario has been considering legislation, but hasn't made any concrete changes just yet. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Okay, if Plowy McPlowface doesn't float your boat, have your shot at naming one of Winnipeg's snow clearers. Find out how after the break, and a last look at weather. Stay with us. Princess Diana has been immortalized once again in wax form. The Greyvant Museum in Paris unveiled a new wax statue of the late Princess of Wales. It had originally planned to produce a wax copy of Diana in 1996, but that project was put on hold after her death. She died in a car accident in Paris in August of '97 when she was 36 years old. The museum's general director said that it wanted to show a more glowing side of her in comparison to her wax statue at the Madame Tussauds in London. For this reason, the museum chose to display her wearing her iconic black cocktail dress she wore in 1994.
Let's have a look at your 7-day forecast now, and temperatures remaining above the freezing mark right through the weekend. So we're looking at this warm push of weather continuing here. Mix of sun and clouds through the weekend. 5 for Winnipeg on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. Monday, we start to see some cloud building in through the day. This ahead of that series of systems that I've been watching could impact us as we get Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. Right now, I'm looking at snow through the afternoon on Tuesday, with that tapering off as we get through the day on Wednesday. So just something to be aware of, because we are starting to see that shift in weather, and in behind this some much cooler air. And by the end of next week, actually looking at daytime highs, Brittany, closer to -10.
It's coming.
Well, with the snow expected in the next week or so here, that means clearing crews will be out soon on the roads, keeping us safe and making sure we can all get around.
And we could all get to know them on a very personal level. Here's your Daily Lift. Winnipeg school kids will soon get the chance to name our city snowplows. It's a tradition that started in 2006 in Scotland.
Some of their names include Davy Plowie, Keanu Freeze, and Snow Be Gone Kenobi. The mayor says he's heard some great ones so far.
Well, actually, I heard someone just yesterday suggest, and they have the permission of the family, Dale Plowerchuck. So for Winnipeg Jet fans like you and me, who've been Jet fans for a lot of years, we'll get that. That's a great idea.
I like that one. He says they'll start with naming 12 plows and maybe move on to sidewalks. Entries can be submitted now until December 5th. And our producer had a great one, Taylor Drift.
The cheesy one I have is Colorado Loader.
Oh! Love it. Get those suggestions in. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Took me all hour to come up with that.